All right. And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on the Stables Network, the show that provides research and statistics all about the Detroit and Michigan sports teams, whether fans like it or not, and detects, exposes, and reveals actual and hidden facts and truth that the mainstream media doesn't want you to know. Is this recording on Facebook or no? Anyway, Illinois is leading
Almost.
Michigan 30-28.
I would just keep going.
Yep. I'm Taylor Phillips. Thanks, Breck. Follow me on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram. I'm along with Frank Vajcner. Follow him on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at Frank_Vajcner. Follow the show on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at Michigan_Truth. Also, follow Ed Smith, who's on assignment, on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at EdSmith313. Also, like the Michigan Sports Truth Facebook page, the Michigan Sports Truth podcast. Check out its website, the MichiganSportsTruthPodcast.com. And yes, we're on Facebook Live now, finally. And scour the Stables Network's YouTube channel and the Stables Network. And also like the Stables Network on Facebook and follow it on Twitter at Stables Network and on Instagram at the Stables Network. Plus, listen to it on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, CastBox, Deezer, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Blog Talk Radio. The Michigan Sports Truth Podcast does not represent or defame any of the teams it covers, nor does it represent or compete against any of the mainstream media in the state of Michigan. It is also not for entertainment or debating purposes. It only detects, exposes, reveals honest, actual, and hidden facts, truth, and statistics about them because the truth is out there. Got a lot to discuss. Lions being fined and their week in review. The Red Wings, Darren McCarty blaming Mike Babcock for their Stanley Cup loss in 2009. The Pistons trying to make a surge. Michigan basketball, Michigan State basketball. Also got the bowl games already being set. And Tigers, former Tigers second baseman Lou Whitaker failing to get into the Hall of Fame. And the current Tigers situation when they signed veteran Jorge Bonifacio to a minor league deal, and Ronnie Rodriguez quite claimed off waivers by the Milwaukee Brewers. And Al Avila's absurd comments at the winter meetings, along with Ron Gardenhire. So why don't we go ahead and get to that? Shout out, by the way, goes to Amber Martin, who got a new job at Mulligan's in Traverse City, Mulligan's Restaurant. Amber Martin, if you're listening to this, honey, congratulations. Hopefully we can chat again. That being said, the Lions, let's go to one of our top stories. The Lions got fined $110,000 total for misusing Matthew Stafford with his injury on November 10th at the Chicago Bears this year. So, I was thinking that this had something to do with his back injury, his broken vertebrae from last year. At least I would hope, but it only said this year, and this is something Matt Patricia and Darrell Bevel and Bob Quinn have failed to use in terms of Matthew Stafford very properly enough. Matt Patricia and the coaching staff and the general manager did not even know how to use an injured player properly. Frank, any analysis on that?
Well, I've got Ed's notes in front of me right now, and he said, this is what he had to say. His thoughts were not being completely forthcoming or brief, but everyone agrees upon. It was just really a botched attempt for the Lions to try and be the New England Patriots 2.0 that Bob Quinn, Matt Patricia, excuse me, are so desperately trying to clone and get positive results. But like all things the Lions do, it's naturally blew up in their face in hilarious fashion. And don't forget that there were reports in the morning of the Kansas City game that he had his back issue. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen, listening in? And combined with what we know, all the Lions having concerns about this in the offseason and when it's far to not play him during the preseason, it's pretty easy to connect the dots. So it's just another black mark on the Lions as a franchise, and it's more of a same crap, different people, whole different day, and that's just how it is. And truthfully, I think it's going forward. It's not going to get any better. I'm just not really sure what more I can say on that end.
Right, and remember when Jim Caldwell was head coach? He wasn't good enough either. But
Oh yes, the whole check the report thing, and all his memorable one-liners at press conferences, and it seemed like. And look, it seems like Patricia's trying to be the same way, as well. And what I don't get is this: if Bob Quinn wants to be a big boy and say 9-7 is not good enough, and after 2 years, Matt Patricia has only 9 wins in 2 seasons, what's that tell you? And I know people say, "Oh, they're going to rebuild." Rebuilding teams don't sign players on defense to big-time contracts. Look at Trey Flowers' contract. Look at Justin Coleman's contract. They don't do that. Rebuilding teams don't do that. The Miami Dolphins are in a rebuild, and they have pretty much stripped their roster down to almost nothing. And they basically have probably some guy off the street playing for them at certain positions. But, they're trying to get back. They're going to be getting better. There's a long-term plan there. What's the long-term plan for the Lions? Just keep doing things where you sign guys to big-time contracts and not try to build a team the right way and doing a horrendous job drafting. Something's going to have to happen soon. And truthfully, I know Ed said in his notes that he's all aboard the tank train and the race for Chase Young.
We all are.
Yeah, I am too. Heck, I may as well be driving that train. But do you really trust Bob Quinn to make that move at this point? It's getting harder and harder for me to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Now, speaking of the Lions, they inevitably lost to the Minnesota Vikings, but in a low-scoring affair, 20-7. This David Blau thing on Thanksgiving. Ed. Yeah, I got Ed's notes here with me too. Thanks to Ed Smith. In case he doesn't return next week, which I hope he does. I guess next week. Urinating Tree, by the way, he's going to come along as a guest. By the way, since Frank, you're going to be gone next week. But David Blau, he started off good against the Chicago Bears in a 24-20 loss, but I guess David Blau kind of cooled off the last probably since in Minnesota. The Lions put up only 7 points. They were getting some yardage, but they still failed to capitalize. They failed to get into scoring position in the scoring range until very late in the fourth quarter, which is too little, too late. Whenever Blau wasn't being pummeled for 5 sacks, his production was inefficient and inconsistent as evidenced by the 2 interceptions thrown. Blau was at the very least able to gain experience and lessons from this encounter, as evidenced by the touchdowns scoring drive he led in garbage time that prevented this from being a shutout. Ed trusts that with more reps and snaps, Blau will be able to groove into a more consistent rhythm as the season winds down, provided that he doesn't end up on IR first, on injured reserve like Matthew Stafford and Marvin Jones are. Marvin Jones is out for the season, by the way, so there's that. That's a good move by the Lions. They're 3-9, 3-9-1. Speaking of which, Stafford, Kerryon Johnson, Hawkinson, Marvin Jones. Snacks Harrison, J.D. McKissick being injured. Wow. But they're all being injured in garbage time of the season when the Lions are 3-9-1, like I just mentioned before. So the Lions are facing a 6-7 Buccaneers team from Tampa Bay at Ford Field. Jameis Winston last week threw for 4.5 stacks and 4 tubs, 456 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And you can bet that he was going to be looking at the Lions defense like a plate of crab legs. Then again, this is famous Jameis, and he'll be playing with a thumb injury. So we'll expect him to put at least 3 or 4 balls in harm's way, 3 or 4 passes in harm's way that could result in a bountiful buffet of turnovers should the Lions execute properly. That said, we're all in for the tank train, like Ed mentioned, in the race for Chase Young. So hopefully the Bucs score early and often to have this one in the bag well before the fourth quarter. Ed predicted the Buccaneers to beat the Lions 41-20. Yeah, the Lions defense is trash. The Buccaneers offense, led by Jameis Winston, red hot, although the Bucs are just a little bit under 500. The Lions offense, even with David Blau, still not good. Frank, I want your prediction before I try to range it here.
I think this one's going to be pretty ugly too. And look, I know Jameis Winston, yeah, he had a great game last week. But again, he's also known to turn the ball over. I believe he leads the NFL starting quarterbacks in turnovers this year. So, I mean, that might keep it from turning into a blowout. But again, I think, the Bucs are showing a little sense of pride. The Lions really have nothing left to play for. They can't get out of last place in the NFC North. That's already been locked up. I'm going to go, I'll say Tampa wins it 42-21. Somewhere around there. The Lions might capitalize on a couple of turnovers, but I think their defense is just so putrid that Tampa will run away with it.
Yeah. I'm going to predict 41-21 just to try to get it exactly right. So, yeah. Lions are probably going to be 3-10-1 after this upcoming Sunday. So that's good. That's actually good for the race for Chase Young. That would be. So that's Lions. Now the Red Wings. They lost 11 straight. Ed pointed out it's back to square one. I lost 12 straight. Sorry about that.
After they lost to the Jets last night.
5-1. They got smacked. Eric Comrie made his debut. Had a rough second period, but other than that, he was good. But, yeah, the Red Wings offense still stinks. Yeah, it's going to be a long matter of time before Eisman does a hell of a lot of work next summer. So Robbie Fabry, though, he keeps scoring a goal. He keeps scoring goals. But Fabry and Filppula are nice. It's well that Tyler Bertuzzi is contributing. This is a team that's still trying to find its right pieces. This is why Eisman wanted to stress patience right as his tenure began. Like I just said. And for Ed, being a Jimmy Howard defender for as long as I humanly could. The Wings need serious help at goaltender. Yeah, Jimmy Howard has had his better days already as a Red Wing. Jonathan Bernier is not good enough either. The silver lining is that the draft picks will be high enough for us to grab and groom the set of generational talents to lead this team into the new era. The question is, will Jeff Blashill be a part of that era by then? I'm growing more doubtful about that prospect of an idea with each and every passing loss. Yeah, because Jeff Blashill's not holding himself accountable. Somebody's got to hold him accountable. I'll bet it's Steve Eisman. So, absolutely. Jeff Blashill has to go. There's someone from Detroit, Jock City, had said that it's time for Jeff Blashill to pass the head coaching keys to the car to Dan Bilesma, current assistant coach Dan Bilesma, that has had more head coaching experience than Jeff Blashill. And Bilesma won a cup in 2009. And speaking of which, Darren McCarty was blaming Mike Babcock for the Red Wings Stanley Cup loss in 2009 with the Pandora, and Ed wrote, with a Pandora box now being open on Babcock, it doesn't surprise anybody that former players are more than willing to shed light on what it was like playing for him. Darren McCarty brings a valued opinion simply because he can give a firsthand comparison from Babcock to, say, a Scotty Bowman. The key difference in that, in old interviews and even now, Ed has never once heard anything of Scotty that could be seen as comparable to Babcock or his personality, or whether or not the team won 3 cups in 7 years in spite of Scotty, which is actually not the case. Scotty helped the Red Wings win those 3 cups in 97, 98, and 02. That's a fact, Jack. And the Franzen story is just disturbing, considering that the amount of brain trauma that the Mule had already accumulated by then. We all hope that these revelations help usher in a much-needed rehaul and restructure in terms of proper coach conduct towards their own players. And take it from personal experience. Ed Smith himself once asked Mike Babcock a question as part of a mock presser for high school journalism day several years ago. Ed could even tell, even back from his tone of attitude of his answer, that he was stern and controlling coach with a borderline prickly nature that could grow to wear thin. It is nice to see that this needed day of reckoning arrived for him sooner rather than later. Frank, what's your analysis on that?
Well, I'm going to try and save a lot of this for my closing statement because this is exactly what I'll be talking about. But obviously with BMAC piling on Babcock, I mean, I kind of mentioned this a little bit in brief on my show after further review this past Saturday. But also, I think this is just more fallout coming in the wake of this whole cancel culture movement going on in hockey, where stories about head coaches doing stuff have come out even after they've been fired or leading them being fired. In fact, the unrelated note, Akeem Alou, the player who accused Bill Peters of calling him a racial slur, also said that there was a staff member with the Colorado Eagles, who were at the time an ECHL squad, and there was a staff member that showed up dressed in blackface to a Halloween party mocking Alou, but that's another topic for another time. So I think we're gonna see more and more coming out within the next few weeks and months as well, and who knows what's gonna happen. And quite frankly, with Ed saying he asked a question to Babcock when he was a high school student, I'm really not surprised. I mean, the way I've noticed Babcock, he's kind of that stern, controlling guy. guy who's real tough on guys and says, you know, you want to win, you got to be willing to pay a price. Well, unfortunately, he kind of took that too far in some instances. And as for the current state, 12 straight losses and only 2 more away from tying the franchise record set in the 80s, which was 14. And let's face it, it's probably going to happen. They play the Jets tomorrow night.
Oh, do they ever.
And then they also play the Montreal Canadiens. And let's just say there have been plenty of times in the last few years where the Canadiens have lit them up like a Christmas tree. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. And again, saving this for my closing statement for later, at what point is Steve Yzerman going to say, enough is enough, I need to make a change? Because I know he preached patience, and in no way am I calling Steve out for this. He's got time to make a move, but I just can't help but wonder, what's it going to take for him to say, you know, this looks a lot worse than I had thought. Things are not going as well. If I want to get this team back on the right track, something's going to have to happen. I've already made trades to bring in some different guys. Obviously, Robbie Fabry has made an impact, but it's at the point where losing 5-1 on a consistent basis, that doesn't just show a lack of talent. That shows a lack of effort. And I'll elaborate further in my closing statement tonight.
Absolutely. I can hardly wait. So that's all Red Wings here for this week. Now we transition to the Pistons. They upset the Pacers 108-101. And then last night they just barely beat the New Orleans Pelicans 105-103 at King Smoothie Arena. Derrick Rose hit the game-winning fadeaway shot from the right baseline with 0.3 seconds left in the fourth quarter to put the Pistons up for good, 105-103. He finished with 21 points. Just amazing heroics for Derrick Rose. They are off until tomorrow in Mexico City when they play as the home team against the Dallas Mavericks. That's got to be on Fox Sports Detroit, hasn't it, Frank?
Taylor, I'm actually checking that right now. It's either going to be on FSD or FSD Plus because I know the Wings play tomorrow night as well. So I'm pulling up the schedule, and actually, let's see. I'm not fine. Apparently, I'm not fine. So I would imagine it's probably on Fox. It's probably going to be on Fox Sports Detroit Plus more than likely if the Wings end up being on Fox Sports Detroit. Right?
Yep.
It's not listed as a national broadcast. It's not listed as being on TNT, which usually has Thursday night games.
I see. But anyway, Ed wrote just a couple of weeks ago, the state of the Pistons was one of despair. They had only 5 wins and lost 6 of 7 and were spiraling backwards in conference standings. Now, after winning 5 of the last 8, especially with the return of Blake Griffin and making the slow climb back up, they're beginning to find their groove even without Reggie Jackson. For starters, there's Derrick Rose, like I mentioned before, the game-winning shot. His steady coming has somewhat balanced the turnover problem he has had to start the year off. But Rose is showing he's got a lot left in the tank despite all his injuries and setbacks, as evidenced by his game-winning buzzer beater against the Pelicans, like I mentioned before. There's all the convenient matter of things waiting to settle as Blake Griffin made his return from injury. Things might still be gelling, but that has often been the case due to the big three of Blake, Drummond, and Reggie not often sharing many nights in the same lineup. That now makes me wonder if some teams out there that might be willing to hear any and all offers for Blake, and for that matter, Drummond, if the Pistons wanted to in that direction. But if they keep winning games and get close to playoff contention, which they might, that won't be necessary at all. Frank, anything to add there?
Well, I will admit that it's nice to see that Derrick Rose can still get the job done, And despite having knees made of Legos, and it's nice to see the Pistons are actually starting to get things going a little bit and showing that they can win games. Now, obviously, when Reggie Jackson returns, how's that going to shake things up lineup-wise? We'll let Dwayne Casey decide that. But still leads to wonder, our team's going to listen to offers for Blake, especially when you'll be able to possibly get a nice return, get some assets, and get some new blood on the team, and some new players down the road in the draft. So it's definitely good to see, and especially since I will be at the game a week from tonight, which is why I will be out due to the fact that Dundee basketball is playing there at Little Caesars Arena in the afternoon, and we get to stick around for the Pistons game. So it'll be good to see that they can keep playing well, especially against the defending NBA champions coming in as well.
Yeah, the Toronto Raptors. They're at Houston, and then they're home against Washington, the Rockets, Wizards, and then the defending champion Toronto Raptors. So, yeah, this is really, this is a very good challenge right now. Pistons taking on the defending champion Raptors. The Pistons have had the Raptors number until the first meeting of the season when the Pistons were reeling when Blake Griffin was injured. But now this would be interesting to see since Blake Griffin's return and Derrick Rose still lighting it up. This should be a very interesting battle next week at Little Caesars Arena. What do you think, Frank?
I definitely agree, and I am looking forward to seeing it in person.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. You're going to be there to see the Raptors and Pistons play at Little Caesars Arena?
Yeah, as I mentioned, this was part of Dundee High School basketball playing a game there in the afternoon against New Boston Huron High. And then we all get to, and as a team, we get to stick around for the game. So it's
definitely.
It's gonna be a fun experience, especially for the high school team getting to play in an NBA arena. Not many teams get to do that.
Yeah, I'm very happy for you. Have fun. Be safe out there. I think we're off on Christmas Day because, everybody's celebrating Christmas this month. Definitely. So let's see here. That's Pistons. Nothing important to report on the Pistons. They're just they're coming on strong. They're ninth place, but they're 10-14. They've caught all the way up closer to 500. As of right now, they stand to be the same old mediocre team, right, as they have been the last few years, but still only 2 months into the regular season, and the Pistons have been making a surge. So I would keep my fingers crossed if I were myself, at least, if I were the Piston fan, up to the Piston fan in general, to have some hopes, not very high, but at least some hope for this team. So definitely something to watch out for down the road. So transitioning from NBA to college basketball, the Wolverines and Spartans Open Conference play-in already facing tests. Michigan had overcome 44 points by Luka Garza to hold off Iowa 103-91. And we'll see how they handle adversity as on the road against Illinois. From Eli Brooks to John Teskey's offensive roles expanding, the leadership of Xavier Simpson, and help from guys like Franz Wagner, among others, this team is seemingly already ahead of expectations, which is more than what you could have asked for to start the season if you're Juwan Howard. As for MSU, they rebounded from that debacle against Duke with help in large part to their All-American point guard Cassius Winston, which was needed against a pesky Rutgers team. If there is one thing Izzo needs to drill into those players between now and Michigan, it has to be ball security. Another night with double-digit turnovers and against a Rutgers against Rutgers, it could be annoying. So just imagine it against a stronger and better team. This Spartan squad should still be a candidate for the Big Ten title, but they have not played like a title favorite to start out. Expect that to change within the next month. But they got to take better care of the basketball, do the Spartans. For the Wolverines, right now, as I check and see the Score mobile app right now,
it's 48-48 Illinois.
Yeah, that I just saw it. 11:59 left, second half. That's not a good sight at all. Yeah, but Michigan trying to keep it. Michigan keeping it as close as they can. I still see Illinois winning unless Michigan somehow makes a miracle comeback and escapes a scare. So, for Michigan State, again, like I said, got to take better care of the basketball to try to catch back up and play better. Frank, anything to add?
I'll start off with Michigan's win over Iowa, where they put up 100. I mean, everyone's going to say, yeah, that's impressive. And yeah, they did have to fight off Luka Garza getting 44. But truthfully, Iowa's defense is god-awful. So, I mean, yeah, they were able to take advantage of it, which is all well and good for Juwan Howard and company. But, I mean, giving up 44 to somebody, that's something that you're not going to be able to get away with. The Big Ten this year is a meat grinder. And, I mean, if you want further proof of that, look at tonight what Rutgers did to Wisconsin. They beat them. So we've seen that Rutgers is not the same doormat that they once were. Illinois is a hell of a lot better. In fact, even Maryland, who was ranked in the top 5, lost to Penn State on Tuesday night. So really, you have to have your stuff together in conference play. I mean, unless you're playing Northwestern, who's expected to be a bottom feeder, still you got to have it together every night. There's really no gimmies, especially when you get into January and February and all those conference games. So lots going to be seen for Michigan. As for Michigan State, yeah, they did beat a Rutgers team that actually is better than we thought they were. Or they beat Wisconsin. And I'm curious to see how well they can keep playing with Rocket Watts out with an injury. I know they moved Aaron Henry to shooting guard, and he actually played a lot better there after his rough outing against Duke, and have Gabe Brown starting at small forward, which that seems to work for now. They'll have a interesting game on Saturday against Oakland at Little Caesars Arena. So that should be a good test to see where they're at. I mean, this isn't your vintage Greg Campy Oakland team. It's got a lot of guys who could possibly play at Power 5 schools. But I think it's still a good challenge for them. But Oakland always plays Michigan State tough whenever they meet. So it'll be interesting to see there. But again, once it gets to Big Ten play, every game is going to be a meat grinder.
Yeah. It's now 50-42 Illinois right now leading Michigan as you people are seeing on Big Ten Network BTN. Eli Brooks just recently got into double digits, and now it's now 50-44. I believe that was number 2, Livers, I think, but it's 50-44. Now a poke away, but a foul called on number 11 of Michigan. Got to find out. Yeah, it's Isaiah Livers that just scored. That's number 2 for the Wolverines. Xavier Simpson recently picked up a technical foul for bumping into an Illinois player. That Frazier, that would be. Yeah. Yeah, that's something you just don't do, and that's foolishness, very undisciplined. It is.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure Juwan Howard's gonna let him hear it on the bench.
Yeah.
See, especially if player. I mean, look, I've seen it at all levels. If a player blows an assignment on defense or picks up a technical foul, you're usually gonna get ripped on the bench, and it's pretty much you listen, you take your tongue lashing, you say, "Yes, coach," and you go back out there, play better.
Well, it has nothing to do with playing better. This is just an incident that has something to do.
Or you
that's
just go out and play with
off the clock,
or play with a cooler head.
Yeah, play with a better attitude. Oh, that one almost that one almost went down for Eli Brooks. But anyway, 52-44 Illinois. Michigan comes up with it. I think that was off a miss. That was a rebound. But Michigan misses on their offensive end. But yeah. As for the bowl games, Michigan. Let me check and see here.
Michigan will play Alabama in the Citrus Bowl on New Year's Day.
Bowl. Yeah, the rematch from 2012. Yes.
And when they met in the Cowboy Classic to open the season, and Michigan State is in the Pinstripe Bowl. So
against Wake Forest.
The
Demon Deacons.
Yeah. Now Michigan State. I mean, look, I'm a Michigan State fan here. And I know Ed says, thank God it's not the Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit, but really going out to play at Yankee Stadium in December, not that good. I mean, yeah, you do get to go to New York City and play, but, I'm not really sure this is going to be a great momentum builder if they win because, for one, Wake Forest is not that big of a brand in football. For that matter, and look, I know Michigan State's favored by 3, but I don't trust this offense to score it all. So, truthfully, right now, I think Wake Forest probably wins a close one. As for Michigan going against Alabama, I know Ed says he's curious, and he says it could be a blowout since Nick Saban might be in a bad mood for missing out on the college football playoff. He says that Michigan loses little to nothing by losing, but a win kind of puts some good makeup on what's been a disappointing season and just don't give up 40 points. Well, here's my thought on Michigan and Alabama. Truthfully, I think this is a game that's a no-win situation for Michigan.
Right.
Because
Alabama's going to win.
Well, here's the thing, Taylor, and I've noticed this in the past is, unless Alabama is playing for a national championship, they typically don't care for bowl games like this. So, and plus, how many of Alabama's guys are going to sit out in preparation for the NFL draft? Because that's become a trend lately in college football for the last few years. What you think of it is your opinion. I personally don't. I mean, do I necessarily like it? No, because I want to see these guys play. But at the same time, I understand why they're doing it because, case in point, Jalen Smith, when Notre Dame played Ohio State, almost had his career ended with a pretty gruesome knee injury. And he still was able to recover from that and play in the NFL, but it could have been a lot worse. So if Michigan wins this game, it more than likely will be because Alabama doesn't have a lot of their starters playing because they're sitting out. And if they lose this game, well, it's just another black mark on Jim Harbaugh as a head coach. And look, and I do understand Ed's point where it says, it'll actually just kind of make you feel somewhat better. And obviously it should with a win. But when you really look at it, unless you beat Alabama straight up, where they're actually playing their guys, that's about the only thing you could feel good about. And also try not to give up 40 points. I'm surprised that Don Brown has not been handed his walking papers yet, but I imagine that he will if Michigan gives up 40 or more.
Yeah, I would understand that too. Yeah, like I said, Alabama's going to beat Michigan. Michigan State, probably going to lose in a close one to Wake Forest. We'll make our predictions later on with that one, but I think ahead of time Wake Forest will will come out just barely with a victory in a very close result. But I'll save my scoring prediction for later on. So that's December 27th. CMU coming up short against Miami, Ohio. That's a shame that CMU didn't even come up with a MAC championship. My Chippewas, 2 incomplete passes on the final drive of the game. I know they had a touchdown game. What would have been a go-ahead touchdown call back, but I thought that I don't see any controversy there. But anyway, CMU just didn't provide enough offense to beat Miami, Ohio. To prevent the game, to even prevent that game from being close. Just to fill up some time here.
And quick note: Central Michigan actually made all Division I college football teams in the state of Michigan are actually going to a bowl game.
Right.
Central will be in the New Mexico Bowl on December 21st, 2:00 kick on ESPN. They're playing San Diego State.
Yep. Aztecs.
Yes. Let's see. Eastern Michigan's going to be playing in the Quick Lane Bowl on the day after Christmas. And
who are they playing?
They are playing Pitt.
The Pitt Panthers. Yeah. Western Michigan's playing in the First Responder Bowl. What the heck kind of name for a bowl game is that?
I think I'm pretty sure I'm looking for that one right now.
The opponent?
No, I'm looking for the day of it. I'm coming. Shoot. Is it before?
I'm guessing it's December 20th.
December 30th. My bad. Yeah, they're playing Western. They're playing Western Kentucky.
Western Kentucky, yes. I forgot about that.
In Dallas. So that
in Dallas, I think, at AT&T Stadium.
No, at Gerald R. Ford Stadium, where SMU plays.
Oh yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, so they got to a bowl game and came there. So hats off to all teams from the state of Michigan. That's the first time that's ever happened, where all five teams from the state make it to a bowl game.
Yeah. Yep. So definitely, let's give an update since we still have like less than 18 minutes left. 54-48, Illinois is leading Michigan right now. Now it's 55-48 as first free throw has been hit. 7:54 left in the second half in Champaign, Illinois. Michigan going in 8-1, Illinois 6-3. Now it's 56-48. Both free throws are made. Michigan's got some work to do. You guys are seeing this on BTN, so am I. As we're doing this podcast, we're giving live updates. Xavier Simpson, who recently got a technical, dishes into Eli Brooks. His fadeaway right baseline, well short. Hits the front of the rim, but that's not even close. And now John Teskey pokes it away. Ball's loose, picked up by Michigan. Here's Eli Brooks on a breakaway. He has it swatted off the glass. Good. Illinois' got good defense as far as I can tell. Now here's a three by one of the Illinois players. No good. Short rebound, Michigan. Here's Eli Brooks to Teskey. Back to Brooks. He'll go in. There's a foul before the shot. It's going to be on Frazier of Illinois. 7:15 to go, second half in Illinois. 56-48 Illinois. I'm providing some play-by-play for a little bit. So let's talk about Tigers here for a second. We got like 15 minutes. Lou Whitaker got screwed. He did. This continued. He failed to get in the Hall of Fame, and Ed wrote that this continues to be an infuriating odyssey that borders on disrespect. To put it in simple layman's terms, Sweet Lou has a better career WAR, wins above replacement, and higher OPS plus than the likes of Harold Baines, Rogers Hornby, and even Derek Jeter. Yet somehow he's still not in. It's sickening and insulting. And frankly, this needs to be addressed and called out more publicly. If I'm the Tigers, I would personally send a message my own way and finally retire Lou Whitaker's number this upcoming year. Not just to give him his proper place amongst all-time Tiger greats, but as a symbolic gesture to the MLB and their joke of a Hall of Fame committee. Put Lou in with Tram already, you cowards. Frank, Ed, there's no better way Ed could have said this. No better way anybody could have said this.
Absolutely. Yeah, and look, he's got better numbers than the names of Baines, Hornsby, and Derek Jeter, who Jeter is somebody who we all grew up watching Derek Jeter play. But he's someone who I thought the world of as a player. And, I mean, he's able to get in the Hall of Fame, but Lou Whitaker isn't. That is just a crime against baseball. Put Lou in already, okay? What's he done wrong? I mean, look, I know people are going to say, hey, Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame, even though he bet on baseball. Look, I'm not going to get into that matter. That's its own topic on its own time. Just put Lou in, committee. What did he do to you? Did he kick your dog? Did he insult your mother? What did he do? I'm waiting. Just put him in.
Yeah, 58-48 Illinois right now. Yeah, I think as far as I can tell, the fans voted more for those two players, and Lou Whitaker was unfortunately not one of them. But I think he deserves another shot next. He deserves another shot. He does. Is this Hall of Fame thing annual? I hope it is.
It is. It's an annual thing.
Yeah, just keep considering Lou, and then finally put him in next freaking year, please. That's all we ask. There's not much to ask. Just put him in 2020. Let's all vote for Lou. Hashtag vote for Lou. So
I agree.
Definitely. That's what we'll do from here on forward. Hashtag vote for Lou. Okay. Now to some other Tigers business. Ronnie Rodriguez was claimed. Tigers utility infielder Ronnie Rodriguez was claimed off waivers by the Milwaukee Brewers. And this is a What's Your Great segment. It's simple. Ed wrote, it's simple. Ronnie was not hitting and producing enough in a consistent manner to warrant another chance on the roster or to be a part of a trade package. He's pushing late 20s and is barely above 200, and he won't be crying tears of sorrow over losing him. Ed Smith's grade is a C+. I'm going to go with that. Frank, how about you?
Make it 3 for 3. I agree with that. I mean, look, he wasn't good enough. Barely hitting above 200. Heard him. I'm not overly disappointed. I mean, look, and plus the Tigers aren't missed anyway. So thanks. So all I'd say is, Ronnie, thank you for your time here. Best of luck to you in Milwaukee.
Yeah. In other words, GTFO, buddy. So, with that being said, Al Avila made some comments about the Tigers rebuilding in the Tigers winter meetings, and Ed Smith called them absurd. Off the air, you called and you said that was an understatement. I said asinine. This was all off air.
Yeah.
So definitely. I couldn't remember what he said, but it had something to do with rebuilding in a different way or something like that.
Well, I do remember saying that this is going to be they're going to start building back up. Okay, Al, you want to start building back up? You're not signing any big name free agents. Obviously, you're not. They weren't in on Garrett Cole, who went to the Yankees for 9 years, $300 and some million. Anthony Rendon, oh, just signed with the Angels for 7 years. You're not on any tier 1 or tier 2 free agents. What are you gonna do to start building back up? You've got nothing in your pipeline in terms of positional players. What are you gonna do come draft time? And yet this guy still was given an extension last summer because Chris Ilitch was happy with the way things were going. I'm sorry. He's not getting it done, and I can't even trust him to make the right moves anymore. Like I said here, it all comes down to Chris Ilitch being the equivalent of Jeffrey Loria 2.0.
Right, and Chris Ilitch extended Alavila this past summer with a multi-year contract extension. We still don't. After 6 months, we still don't even know the freaking details. Last 5 months now, five and a half. We still don't even know the details of how exactly long it's going to be, or how much money Alavila is getting paid per year or total. That's just infuriating. It's almost as if Chris Hill is just trying to piss off the fans and tell them to be patient. He's totally pissing them off completely. He's pissing us off.
Like I said, he's just like Jeffrey, like former disgraced Miami Marlins owner Jeffrey Loria, minus the whole deal with art galleries or whatever. But I've said that enough times here.
Yeah, Chris Ilitch, don't forget, he's also the parking lot king.
That is very true.
Yeah, when we discussed this earlier this year on the Blog Talk Radio airwaves, as Illinois just re-extended their lead to 64-54 with 3:47 counting down, second half. John Teskey sizes up a 3 and comes up short. And Illinois with it. But, this Chris Ilitch, he's got to sell the Tigers. He does.
Yeah.
He can keep the Red Wings, but sell the Tigers. What's your question?
The question is, when's he going to do that? And, how many times have we heard there's a possibility there could be a buyer out there? And so far, nothing. So hopefully it happens sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Illinois now up by 12, 66-54. And one of the referees just got hit in the head. 3:14 left, second half, as I see right there. Oh, man, that's
Do you hit with a ball or hit with
Cockburn just accidentally hit him with his right forearm when celebrating a hoop. Oh my goodness!
Boy!
I'm sure that was an accident, but man,
yeah, I would
miscommunication there.
Yeah,
that was gruesome. Definitely gruesome. Yeah, but. I think Michigan's going to get upset by Illinois, as far as I can tell.
Yeah,
they just weren't disciplined enough.
Like I've said, winning on the road in the Big Ten is always tough. It's tough to go into somebody else's barn and get a win, especially with as tough as the conference is this year.
Yeah, you can't even expect to win on the road in a Big Ten game, a conference game, especially when you're not playing disciplined enough. Especially when one of your players just picked up one of your players earlier picked up a technical foul, Xavier Simpson by name. That's just very undisciplined. It's just not good enough. You got to be a lot more disciplined than that. You got to be smarter, and those are the elements that you have to prove that you're the higher ranked team going in, and that's just. There's no excuse to lose like that or in any way, shape, or form. So then we got like 6 minutes left. Frank, I'll give you at least 3-4 minutes of your closing statement. So go right ahead. Closing statement, go.
Tonight's closing statement is going to, again, relate to the Detroit Red Wings. And it's not just going to relate to their current 12-game losing streak and the numbers that may be associated with that, which in case anyone is wondering, some numbers from Prashant Iyer of The Athletic, where their 5-on-5 expected goals for percentage is 40.72%, which is the worst. Their 5-on-5 Corsi percentage is 42.23, which is also worse in the NHL. 5-on-5 save percentage, 88.82%, also worst in the NHL. And their penalty kill expected goals allowed for 60 minutes is at 6.7. That's 18 in the time frame. And their power play expected goals for per 60 minutes is 4.97, which is third worst. And as Prashant said, it's hard to say that the results aren't earned at this point, which they are earned. There is an effort problem on this team. If they were losing games, but losing by one goal on a bad bounce here and there, or losing games in overtime or the shootout or it's like that, this wouldn't be too much of a huge issue. But they're consistently getting blown out 5-1. That, to me, is an effort problem. And where do you put the blame? None other than the head coach, Jeff Blashill. Or should I say Jeff Trashhill, because he's been doing a trash job as of late. And now, since the losing streak started, what do all these coaches have in common? Mike Babcock, Bill Peters, John Hines, and most recently, Jim Montgomery, and tonight, Pete DeBoer. What do they all have in common? They were all relieved of duty. Now, I get 2 of them were due to personal conduct, see Peters and Montgomery, but 3 of them were due to poor performance on the ice, as Babcock, Hines, and
Or on the
DeBoer,
benches.
yes, were all relieved of their duty because of poor results on the ice as well. Now, that leads me to my next point. Yet Jeff Trashhill is still employed, paid, and hasn't been fired, and yet the Wings are the worst team in the NHL, are minus 65 in goal differential. At what point is Steve Yzerman going to say, enough is enough? Will it be after another loss to Winnipeg on Thursday night when the losing streak hits 13? Will it be when it hits a record 14 after losing to Montreal, more than likely? Only time will tell. Now, I'm not going to call Steve out. I trust him to make the right decisions. But I have to say this. Steve, I trusted you when you were hired. I believed you were going to do things different than your predecessor. You've done that with trades. But now, do the right thing. Make a coaching change. Give Dan Bilesville the interim tag. And people will say to me,
well, more importantly, the permanent tag on the head coach.
Well, I would say give him the interim job and then evaluate further. See if they perform better.
You mean for the rest of this year?
Yes. For the rest of this year, and then see where you go from there in the off season. And I know the team has been short on talent. Well, Steve has been making trades to get guys in. And yeah, I still think he is going to make more deals in the coming months before the deadline and also in the offseason as well and in the draft. But I think right here, right now, you have to make a coaching change. It's at the point where lack of effort shows that player development is hurting. If the young guys aren't getting any better, that's just a toxic environment. Change has to be made, and it's got to be made right now. 5 coaches have been gone. Let's hope that Blashill or Trashhill is number 6.
Yeah, hopefully soon enough. The Lions, they need to be sold. That here's my closing statement. The Red Wings, matter of time before they get rid of all their awful contracts and give Dan Bilesville not only the interim job for now, but the permanent tag for next season. The Pistons still have hope for their fans. They're climbing back up. They're 10-14. The Tigers are just the Tigers. as far as college basketball is concerned, Michigan got to be more disciplined if you want to be in the top 10. They're still going to be top 25 nonetheless. But if they want to be top 10, they got to be more disciplined. The Spartans under Izzo, they got to take better care of the basketball. Frank, thanks very much. I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. For everyone, scour the Stables Network's website, primetimewiththestablesnetwork.com, along with its YouTube channel, and subscribe to it. Plus, like the Stables Network on Facebook. Follow it on Twitter and Periscope at Stables Network. Follow the Stables Network on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, CastBox, Deezer, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Blog Talk Radio to listen to our episodes. Check out our show's website, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast.com. Also, like its Facebook page, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Follow its Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at Michigan_Truth. I'm Taylor Phillips, along with Frank Vajcner. Follow me on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at DT2Phillips, and follow Frank Vajcner on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at Frank_Vajcner. On behalf of Ed Smith, follow him on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at EdSmith313. I'm back next Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern with special guest Urinating Tree. Till then, thanks very much for downloading and sharing. And remember, the truth is out there. TTFN. Ta-ta for now. Bon appetit. Hit him with a hind. We rest our case.